So this is weird, guys. Hello and welcome to the first episode of my new series called Netflix Smash or Pass, where basically I watch the various content that Netflix puts up, be it movies, TV shows, documentaries, whatever, and tell you if you should watch it or just pass. Now we all know that there is an epidemic in this country where there's too many choices and you don't know what to pick. So you just go with the same thing that you always watch because you know it's reliable, it's good content, and I'm not denying that. The Office is a good TV show, but you know, after the 10th rewatch, maybe pick something else in the Netflix library. So that's what I'm here to do. This is the first episode, and I thought that maybe we could talk about the Rocky series. All 5 Rocky movies have been put up on Netflix, and I watched them, and here's what I have to say. So, starting off with Rocky 5, if you think this image that I created on Paint is disgusting, well, this is how I feel about this film. And frankly, I kind of hate it a lot. It's really unfortunate because going into the movie, it had a lot of promise, you know, for me, because it was a different storyline. It wasn't the same, like, oh, I gotta get revenge, or, you know, Rocky, he has to fight for something. He had a student that he built up, and that student became, you know, successful, and he wanted to make them better. But oh my god, this movie just falls short on so many beats, and I hated it, and it was just garbage. Wow, the writing was terrible, acting was terrible, directing was terrible, and it was the same director as the first Rocky film. Maybe he was just getting senile at that point. I don't know. But basically, overall, this movie just did not work for me. I would give it a pass. Moving swiftly on to Rocky 4. This movie is a little divisive for me because I was hoping for so much more. This movie was made in 1985, literally smack dab in the middle of the 80s. I expected a sort of cheesy, you know, like family sort of like action kind of movie, but that's not at all what I got. This is a fan favorite. It was directed by Sil himself, and one thing that was a huge issue for me personally was that they got rid of the theme song. How could you take the theme song of Rocky Balboa out of Rocky? And it felt like a missing link. It felt like the missing puzzle piece. And overall, I just didn't really enjoy this movie again. And I'm not going to give a definitive answer. I'm just going to say smash or pass. Depending on if you like cheesy 80 movies, then yeah, I'd say smash. But personally, if you're like me and you didn't really get that sort of vibe, then I'd say pass. Alright, moving on to Rocky 3. Now, I don't know what to say. This movie was meh. It was really, really meh. The writing in this film was probably the worst out of all of them. It was so corny, so cheesy, it was so like unauthentic, like it's just the biggest issue for me in this film. It was so unintriguing, and there was nothing that really gripped me. It was interesting that after Mick died, Apollo wanted to fill the role of coach for Rocky for his big fight against Clubber Lang, whatever his stupid name was, because he was a different opponent. He was different than all the fighters that Rocky had faced before, and Apollo wanted to teach him a different fighting style, because if he had gone in, which he actually did in the movie, he fights Clubber Lang twice, which again, something I'm not a big fan of. Fighting the main villain twice in one movie, one scene that really encompasses this movie for me and really showcases all my hatred towards the script was the scene on the beach where Rocky's initially trying to train up and like get ready, but he's feeling discouraged. He's scared of Clubber Lang after their first fight, where he gets absolutely demolished and he has to come back, and Apollo wants to train him back up and make him better, and so they can beat Clubber Lang this time. But on the beach, that is the worst piece of dialogue interaction I've almost ever seen, where Adrian's trying to pump him up and give him a motive and a reason to train. That sucked. It was so unbelievable and just terrible, and I just didn't see it as a genuine human conversation. So I'm definitively saying pass on this movie. Do not smash. Please don't smash. Okay, so moving on now to the 2 better films of the franchise. Obviously, Rocky 2, I'd say right out the gate, smash. Solid, decent movie. Obviously, I wouldn't say it's as good as the first movie, but it was still a very solid all-around film. I thought the script was okay. I thought it was perfectly fine. The premise was pretty interesting to this movie. The fact that Apollo wants a rematch after, even though he won the first fight, he thinks that he didn't win in a justified manner. From Apollo's standpoint, we get a little look into his personal life, and Apollo himself gets some character development where he didn't so much in the first film. It was more so the business side of Apollo, where we do see a little bit of his family. Yeah, so overall I thought the movie was very interesting, and it kept me engaged, and I liked watching it. I enjoyed sitting down and watching this movie, as opposed to the past three I wasn't a huge fan of. I didn't really grasp it that well, but this one I did. I actually kind of enjoyed the whole theme of children. It's kind of weird. I mean, I noticed a recurring theme of, kids in this movie, how Rocky and Adrian are having their first kid, and the actual theme song is sung by probably like a choir of children, and then the final training montage where he's running through the city of Philadelphia, there's a huge just horde of kids following him. And even though it's like sort of a weird theme to go with, I found it like kind of wholesome. Like, Rocky's starting this family. Even though he's this macho fighter, he's still a man, and he still loves his wife, and he's happy to have kids, and they sort of went with that. So yeah, overall, good, solid Rocky movie. I'd give it a smash. Now, finally, moving on to Rocky 1. I thought this movie was genuinely like a piece of art, and the best thing about it is that it's so genuine and so authentic, and it's like it was almost as if it was based on a real story, and if you just walked into the streets of Philadelphia, you could see something like this. Sylvester Stallone literally is not even trying. He's not even acting. He's just being himself, and he's transforming the script into real life. And I just thought it was so well directed and so well shot, and just this movie overall, like I failed to find very many flaws. When I think about it, I thought this movie was like, I'm not saying it's a perfect movie. This movie, I don't know, I just think it was really good. When I try and think of flaws, nothing necessarily comes to mind, just because I liked it so much. I connected to it so much, and it was immediately grasping and so interesting. And overall, a great story and a great premise. So just 100%, without a doubt, smash on Rocky 1. This movie, so great, please watch it. Alright, so just to finish out this video, I have about 10 additional thoughts that I took note of as I was watching this movie. 1, I hate Adrian. She is by far the weakest link in this whole series. I think she's a terrible actress, and I just really couldn't stand her throughout all 5 movies. Anyways, number 2, I also really hate Mickey. The character of Mickey is the biggest dick ever, and Rocky deserves way better, to be honest. I don't care if Mickey was an experienced boxing coach. I hate him so much. Number 3, even though movies 3 through 5 are pretty bad, I think Sil genuinely tried his best, and I really commend him for that. Number 4, even though personally I thought Rocky 4 was pretty bad, I'm still glad it exists, because, without it, Creed 2 would not exist, and Creed 2 is a great movie. And at number 5, speaking of Creed, the first Creed film is one of my favorite films of all time. And at number 6, I think that the best opponent that Rocky faced was Ivan Drago, even though I keep saying that I wasn't a huge fan of, Rocky 4. I thought the final fight was pretty good. Coming in at number 7 as one of my final thoughts is that the scene in the first Rocky movie where Rocky yells at Mick from within his house, and then Mick can hear him in the hallway, I think that was the best scene in the entire series, and I don't think many people would disagree with me on that.
My house stink? That's right, it stinks! I have no favors from you! Don't slum around me!
And coming in at number 8, I think the reason that the series gets worse over time is that with each subsequent film, the story strays further from reality. Just each time they make a new Rocky movie, it gets worse because they keep making it more unrealistic. And coming in at number 9, Burt Young isn't an incompetent actor. He's perfectly fine as an actor. I just think the character of Paulie really sucks, and I kind of feel bad for Burt Young. And then lastly, coming in at number 10, that robot in the fourth movie was by far the worst thing I've ever seen. And whoever pitched that and whoever gave it the okay should have both been fired.